Okay, I think we'll get the meeting going here. I'll ask for the confirmation of the Kansas Open Meeting Act. Required notice has been sent out.
Look to Margie to confirm that the Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has been provided for today's meeting.
I can confirm that the packet was posted and the required notice of today's meeting was provided.
Okay, well, thank you then. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
We'll see if Board Member Kitchen, Board Member Noonan,
Here.
Board Member Romy,
Here.
Board Member Martins.
Here.
Okay, we have a required notice of today's meeting has been properly provided, and we have a quorum of 3, so we can conduct today's business and move on to item 2.
Okay, item 2 is approval of the minutes from the September 30th, 2021 special meeting. Everyone's had a chance to review those, and if there are no comments or corrections, then I'll accept a motion to approve.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. No further discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, then. Move us down to the new business. Oh,
We have a number of public hearing items for you this afternoon. The first one is a continuation from a hearing that was held on August 12th of 2021. And on the application and our description of the application, it indicates that this has been filed on behalf of the Ad Astra bookstore, and we would just clarify that the actual owner of this property is Big Nose Kate's LLC, or Rusty Leister, and so the architect, Mr. McCall, is representing the property owner and indicates that the proposed exterior modifications would be done regardless of who the tenant is. So in August, the project architect submitted a certificate of compatibility application and plans that proposed installing a new garage door in what is currently a window opening, replacing the existing storefront windows, and installing a new canopy or awning on the facade of the building, and that would have exterior wall-mounted lighting. A public hearing of August 12th was scheduled. At that meeting, the plans that were presented by the architect were fairly conceptual in nature and did not provide much detail about proposed materials and colors. Staff informed the board that based on the information that was provided, it was unable to make a conclusion that the facade changes conformed with the design guidelines for downtown Salina. At the close of the hearing, the board made and approved a motion to postpone consideration of this application to allow the applicant to provide samples of the color of the awning, cut sheets for the lighting, and color swatches of the windows and doors to the board for further review. Mr. McCall, the project architect, has submitted more detailed plans depicting the exterior facade changes. Mr. McCall, as I noted, indicated these changes will be made whether Ad Astra bookstore relocates to this space or not. The general plans are the same, but with additional detail. So there's still a plan to put in a new aluminum garage door in what is currently a window opening. The plan continues to be to put aluminum storefront windows in to replace existing windows, and the plan is to have a black canvas awning over the storefront, and then above that awning there's 4 wall-mounted gooseneck light fixtures above the canopy. We've summarized in our report information about the guidelines applicable to architectural character and preserving that character in regards to color and in regards to awnings. As we've looked at this, it appears that the upper facade of this building appears to be largely intact and unchanged since this building was just first constructed. We don't know or have good records on the actual age of this building. The applicant has indicated they will clean and tuck point brick as needed. The storefront window replacement and the installation of the garage door that's being proposed there is fairly straightforward, and it's consistent with what we've seen done on a number of other storefronts downtown, particularly the overhead garage door opening. We have additional detail about the awning now, about the color and the material. It will be black. It will consist of canvas. We think it's proportionate to the facade of the building and that the black color is compatible with the overall color scheme. Canvas awnings are recommended or preferred in the downtown design guidelines, and the downcast external lighting is also preferred under the design guidelines. I think the only question or clarification staff would be whether there will be any kind of bulkhead below the garage door opening, or whether the garage door opening will extend down to the ground level. So on page 4, we've provided some suggested findings that we think support approval of this project. Your options today would include approving the certificate of compatibility application submitted for the proposed exterior facade changes. You could approve the application subject to any conditions approved by a majority. You could postpone consideration to obtain additional information, or you could deny the application as presented upon making findings of fact or providing reasons for your denial. If you find that the applicant has provided the additional information and clarification about the awning canopy sign design and materials that was requested at the previous meeting to your satisfaction, and they clarify the question about the overhead garage door, then staff would recommend option 2 with the 2 conditions of approval. 1, that if they make any significant changes to the awning or light design and materials, that those would be provided to staff to determine whether any additional review by this board is required. The other thing would be if there's a plan to add signage to the building or awning, that needs to be brought back to this board before there was a issuance of a sign permit. So with that, I'd be open to any questions that the board may have, or if you'd like Mr. Hers to go back to a slide or photo, we'd be glad to do that.
Comments or questions from anyone? If not, before we ask the representative to speak?
So at this time, it'll have no signage or any wording at all?
Would the representative like to step up and identify yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Mike McCall with M Squared Architects. As far as signage at this time, it looks like the tenant that we started to design this for has moved on to a different building. So this right now does not have, as far as I know, does not have a tenant yet at this point. So signage, we'd have to bring that back to you once we kind of know who's going to be renting the space. As far as the garage door, the plan would be to, it used to be a current garage door when it was originally built. That was an opening for a door, garage door. That does have a small, you can see the solid on the bottom. We'd have that as a short wall, so it wouldn't just be a walkout. So that would help control sealing that door, and it's kind of more like what Paramount kind of has down there on their building, similar to.
So the wall actually where the beige is?
Yeah.
Is actually the wall, not the panel of
Yeah.
the garage door? But
Right,
okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
That would, so it kind of mimics the,
Okay.
mimics the door, but yeah, wouldn't go all the way to the opening, wouldn't come to the floor.
Okay. Comments or question, anyone? No, I'm good. Okay. I think, anything you'd like to add? No?
No, I
Right.
think it's pretty straightforward. And we were staying with aluminum is what it is currently and has been for many years. Kind of putting it back to more, actually to originally what it was with the garage door. And then we're moving currently the door sets in a little recess, and that wasn't ADA compliant, so we're having to pull that back out to the front facade. So it'll all be stored right on the sidewalk. So,
All right, thank you.
all right.
All right, well, if there's no other comments or discussion, accept a motion.
I will put forth a motion that we go with option 2 with the conditions that were listed below.
Okay,
I second it.
moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay. All right, motion carried. Thank you.
I'm going to see if with the chair's and the board's consideration that we table consideration of items 3.2 and 3.3 and see if we can get in contact with the representative of Gleason and Son Signs to see if, do we think that they're going to be represented?
They had reached out to me and let me know that someone was going to be on, and they both got the email, but we don't have anybody on Zoom right now.
So, with the agreement of the chair and the board, we would move to item 3.4 and see if we can get someone from Gleason and Sons to join the meeting so that those items 3.2 and 3.3 could be represented at today's meeting.
Okay.
So item 3.4 on your agenda is an application that's been submitted by the City of Salina, and the request is approval of certificate of compatibility to allow the relocation of the existing Campbell Plaza stage cover and its placement in the northeast corner of a parking lot that's owned by the city at the southwest corner of Santa Fe and Ash. And so we have the map on the screen that shows you that information. As a way of background, we indicated in our report that at one time, that 100 block of North Santa Fe was completely lined with buildings that extended all the way to Ash Street. In the early 1970s, the Salina Urban Renewal Agency began acquiring some buildings at the north end of the block, and the buildings at the far north end were demolished by the Urban Renewal Agency in 1973. In 1975, there was property at that intersection that was deeded to First National Bank and Trust Company, which is now Sunflower Bank. In 1981, the bank demolished buildings that are immediately north of the Ad Astra coffee shop, and they completed construction of a private parking lot. And so from in the 1980s to 2004, this parking lot was owned and operated and maintained by Sunflower Bank. Then in 2004, a real estate trade or exchange was completed, and what occurred was that the city had some surplus city-owned property that resulted from the reconfiguration of the Wayne-Belmont, Ohio intersection, and that property was traded to Sunflower Bank, and in exchange, Sunflower Bank deeded this parking lot over to the city, and so this is now owned and maintained by the city. If you'll recall from your previous meeting, the owner of the proposed Prickly Pear Grill and Cantina, which would be located on South Santa Fe immediately north of Campbell Plaza, has plans to convert the plaza into an outdoor dining and recreation space. They view the existing stage and stage cover structure as an obstruction to those plans, and the City Commission has approved the removal and relocation of the stage cover and has hired a contractor to disassemble the stage and to relocate it. However, in your action on September 30th, you approved the removal of the stage from Campbell Plaza, but the purpose of the meeting today is to review the proposed location of the new stage, the orientation of that stage, and the setting, and to determine whether that location and design conforms with the design guidelines. So we're referring to this as a new stage because it's a new home for that stage. The stage and stage structure would run about 43 feet east-west and 43 feet north-south at an angle. There would be a small storage building incorporated into the stage structure. There would be an elevated concrete floor that would be about 18 inches above ground level, and there's plans to construct a handicapped accessible ramp that would access the stage from the west. The stage structure itself would be 16 feet 8 inches in height, would have a metallic roof, but the stage columns are proposed to be wrapped with split-face colored CMU, and the storage building would also be a split-face colored CMU or concrete units. We provided you with information about building materials being visually compatible with the predominant materials of the downtown area, having street level be pedestrian friendly, orienting the primary entrance of a building towards the street. This is going to be open on 3 sides, so it's going to be pretty open and welcoming in terms of the view. The final thing we would call your attention to is there are guidelines for relocating a building within the downtown business improvement district. And reasons for doing that would be if a building does not contribute to the historical or architectural integrity of the district, or if its removal will result in a more appropriate visual effect on the district. This board already determined that removing the stage from Campbell Plaza would create a more positive visual effect for Campbell Plaza. So the question here is, will moving the building here have a negative impact on the site or the surrounding buildings? So one of the things we wanted to point out was that the placing the stage here will result in the loss of parking lot islands in the present parking lot, and will also result in a redesign of the parking lot layout and parking lot circulation. As staff has analyzed the current conditions against the revised plan, we're finding that there's only going to be a net loss of 7 parking spaces in this public lot as a result of the placement of the stage. And as we've looked at this, we do believe that the decorative concrete block wall proposed on the back of the stage and the proposal to wrap the support columns with concrete masonry units would be compatible with the surrounding streetscape. One thing we can't provide for you, because most of these are black and white renderings, the plans that we reviewed referred to colored CMU, and we weren't able to determine what those colors would be for the back wall or support columns. So the only request we'd have for additional information would be about those colors. But as we looked at this, it does appear that the stage and stage cover will be visually compatible with the predominant building materials in the downtown area. It's going to be similar in setbacks and scale as to the surrounding buildings. The relocation out of Campbell Plaza will not have a negative visual impact on Campbell Plaza, and we wanted to point out that the principal function of this parking lot will be maintained with only a minimal loss of parking. So your options this afternoon would be to approve a certificate of compatibility for this stage relocation project. You could approve it subject to conditions. You could approve certain elements of the relocation project and request that other design elements be revised or redesigned and brought back to the board. You could postpone consideration to a future meeting date to get additional design details, or you could deny the application as presented, provided you provide reasons for that denial. So again, the only real question we didn't feel like we could answer for you would be the colors involved of the concrete masonry units. And our recommendation would be to adopt option 2 with the condition that if there's any significant changes to the stage location or design, that those would be provided to staff, and we would determine whether any additional review by this board is required. Staff is here to answer any questions. We also have Mr. Jim Teutsch here, the Public Works Director, who is overseeing this because it is a public parking lot that's maintained by the Public Works Department, and so either one of us would be open to any questions that you have.
Okay, I have a couple. One's more of a clarification. The canopy itself, we talked about the decorative canopy panels. It will be the Art Deco stainless steel panels all the way around, like it currently is in Campbell Plaza, or is it going to be something different? Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim Teutsch, Director of Public Works for the City of Salina. So the current aluminum panels that are on the stage now will remain on the stage,
Okay.
so they will be part of this install. I would note that because we are orienting the stage basically reverse from the way it's mounted currently in Campbell Plaza, that the back of the stage currently will become the front of the stage. So our intent would be to, one, look for the addition of the same panels that are currently on the stage. And I don't want to speak for the Director of Arts and Humanities, Mr. Anderson, but I have had conversation with him, and he is interested in possibly looking at some alternatives to the front of the stage, especially if that stage or that plaza, becomes named or something like that. But in general, the answer to your question is all of the panels that are currently on the stage would accompany the stage to its new location.
But we don't know actually the main front now exactly what that'll be.
It would either be the same exact panels from that company, or unless the Director of Arts and Humanities wished to propose something else.
Okay.
And I don't know the status of his research into that.
Okay.
I know that he was interested in considering it, and I believe that he has staff looking at it to see if that could be an option. If they determine that that's not an option or something they don't want to pursue, then we would proceed with, providing panels that would match that.
Okay. Well, just my statement on that matter, I think I personally want to know what it is before we approve it, so. But the other question I was going to have is that we talked about I forgot what you call it, the CM concrete,
Yes.
and basically it's just going to be basic textured concrete.
Yes, it's
That, and then. but
it's
we
like
just-
split-face concrete block.
Block, okay. But no decision on the color then is made either then, at this point.
All I can report is that the plans prepared by the architect referred to colored CMU. and the plans were in black and white. There was no color given, and I don't know, doesn't appear that the architect has joined us, have they, Mr. Hers?
No, they have not. We do have Mr. Wilson online with us, the contractor. I'm not sure if he has additional details to share or not, but he is with us on Zoom.
Okay.
Every discussion I've been in, basically we left the CMU coloring up to decision of the city to try to tie into a color that matches the streetscape, bricks and pavers that are in the area. So we had planned to just give a color chart to the city and let them pick.
From the city's perspective, we would take that color chart and find the CMU that best matches the existing downtown blocks and architectural elements of the downtown renovation to ensure that that matches with the overall design and intent of the design.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a question. I can't recall, does this have the LED lighting in it as well as like the crosswalks?
Currently?
Yeah.
It does.
It does, okay.
And so I imagine it'll be lit up
Yeah,
similar than when
and
it
so
was.
in part of this project, the contractor, Mr. Wilson, they have intent to, we have a city electrical box that is located near the Ad Astra building, and they will bore a conduit over to the stage location, install a panel, and then reinstall the lights that are currently on the stage now.
So we have attached the scope of work for the project to your report here. In that scope of work, it says it's the contractor's responsibility to disassemble the existing stage lighting system from the current Campbell Plaza location and reassemble it in working condition at the new location. So it should be consistent with what was there at the Campbell Plaza location.
Any other comments, questions for Jim or otherwise?
Thank you.
Jim. Thoughts? I guess I stated my thought. I kind of
I mean,
hesitant to not knowing exactly what, I mean, if, I trust the city.
I was
don't
going to
get me
say,
wrong.
I mean,
But-
I'm assuming they're going to match it and it's not going to be lime green or,
Right.
you know.
But
Well,
at the same time, I feel like we wouldn't do it for private.
I guess what, and you could clarify it through a motion, but if you look at the language of the recommended condition, if you are approving this based on the assumption that the stage, or the panels at the top of the stage will match the existing,
Okay.
and there's a proposal to modify those,
Then it comes-
then those would be submitted to us, and if we said, well, this is a significant change from what was approved by the board, which thought they were getting panels that matched, then we would bring it back for your review. So if that's a matter of concern, then it should essentially be approved with the condition that the panels at the top of the stage match the existing panels, and if there's any significant change to that those changes would be presented to the board.
Okay. Jim?
And if I may, I would simply add, I think you could also say that same thing for the color selection of the CMU, that city staff will provide a color of CMU that best matches the vertical elements that already exist in the downtown, and we would be happy to follow through with that.
Okay.
Does that seem reasonable, Dean?
Yes, that would be the expectation.
Okay. Well,
I will make a motion. It's going to be a mouthful, I think, that we recommend option 2, but if there's any significant changes versus the panels or the coloring than what we've discussed, that they would bring it back to us for further discussion.
so your motion is that the panels would match the existing,
And
And
color
color
would match, yeah,
the
from what they
general
have
decor
downtown.
downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we would do is if you look at the language there on page 5, we would incorporate, it says significant changes to stage location design. We would incorporate that in to include the design and materials of the panels at the top of the stage as well as the colored CMU. And if there's anything that's significant changes from what you're basing your decision on, that those would be brought back.
Correct. That's what I think, yeah.
Okay.
Right, you second it then?
Yeah, I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. If no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion carried.
So, Dustin, are you able to give us any kind of update on
I can give
representing
you an
this?
update. Yes, we reached out to Gleason and Signs, and somebody was supposed to be on their way. I don't know how long we wait for them, but while I have the mic, the Zoom meeting at the beginning was muted, so just to make sure that the record is accurate, I want to, we went through the coma confirmation that the required notice of today's meeting was provided. We do have a quorum of our board members. There were no members of the public on the Zoom meeting when we started, but we just want to make sure that the record is accurate. Board Member Noonan made the motion for approval of the September 30th, 2021 special meeting minutes. Board Member Romy seconded, and that was carried by vote. So, just so the meeting is accurate on the record.
Thank you.
So it would be at the chair and board's discretion of how long you're willing to wait for item 3.2 and 3.3 to have representation, but we think there's, the proposal is not consistent with what was reviewed and approved by this board for this building in May, and we just think that having a representative here to clarify what's occurring and not occurring with this building is important.
Okay. Question is, I realize this out of order. If we move down to administrative items and take care of that,
Yes,
then
we could do
and
that.
give them up till at least till we're ready to adjourn. Is
Yes,
that okay?
We could move to item 3.5.
Okay.
And under item 3.5 is generally September is the time for annual business meeting of this board, but there was a fairly compressed schedule from the time that we had board appointments to getting that organized. And so you also had somebody that was appointed to serve on the board that was unable to serve due to serving on another board. So we have 4 active members and 3 vacancies, one of which is for a design professional and 2 for citizens at large. And so our ordinance states that the board chair and vice chair shall be elected to serve for a term of 1 year or until successors are elected. No person shall be eligible to hold the office of chair or vice chair for more than 2 full consecutive 1-year terms. And so in November, Mr. Patel indicated he was working extra hours and could no longer serve on the board. We have not nominated anyone to replace him as vice chair. So as a general rule, you have to serve at least 1 year on the board before you're eligible to be elected as an officer. And so we've identified 3 current members who were eligible for the office of chair. That would be Katie Kitchen, Mr. Martins, and Ms. Noonan. And those same individuals would be eligible for the office of vice chair. So at this time, as secretary of the board, I would open the floor for nominations for the position of chair.
I nominate that Gary serves another term, because he's done such a great job.
We have a second for that?
I definitely second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second to nominate Mr. Martins. Are there any additional nominations anyone wants to put forward?
Well, I think we should nominate Catherine since she's not here for vice chair.
Well, we'll,
You do
we'll,
separately, don't we?
yeah, we'll do those
'Kay.
separately. So if there's no further nominations for the position of chair, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of Mr. Martins being your chair for the coming year, please say aye.
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 Okay, that makes Gary Martins the chair for the coming year. Now, we'll open the floor for position of vice chair.
I think we should nominate Catherine Kitchen for vice chair.
We have a motion
Okay.
to nominate
Gonna nominate you.
Catherine Kitchen as the vice chair for the coming year. Is there a second to that?
I'd second it.
So we have a motion and a second to have Catherine Kitchen serve as the vice chair for the coming year. Are there any further nominations for the vice chair? There being none, I'll close nominations and call the question. All those in favor of Catherine Kitchen serving as vice chair for the coming year, please say aye.
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 Okay, we have concluded our annual business meeting, and we have a chair and vice chair. And I advised Ms. Kitchen earlier that you don't have to be present to win.
We did call Gleason and Sunsigns again, and they would like to table until the next meeting, as they have no one that can attend the meeting today.
Okay. In terms of our, and you might, one of you might have able to access the schedule faster than me, because I didn't bring any case
right.
files down with schedules in them. But since we're officially still on a once-a-month meeting schedule, then our default would be to schedule these for the November meeting.
So the second Thursday of November is Veterans Day, which I believe we are closed.
Yes.
So
All right. So would I know that the chair would probably not be able to attend, but the
I
The,
can.
the other option for, well, I mean, if we held a special meeting on the 4th
Oh,
Thursday of October.
I actually am available that day.
Okay. So, if the chair is agreeable to having a special meeting on the 28th and not having a meeting on, because I think November is so good that we have Thanksgiving and Veterans Day for our meeting days.
correct.
so.
The second is Veterans Day. And
So the good news is you can't possibly meet in November.
November.
So
So-
in exchange for that, would you consider a motion to postpone consideration of item 3.2 and 3.3 to a special meeting to be held on October 28th?
Yes, I'll move it. Make the motion to have a special
We have
meeting on the
we have a
28th.
motion to postpone these two items to a special meeting to be held on October 28th. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that takes care of today's business, and that would allow us to move to preliminary discussion items, which we have none. I can't think of any unfinished or other business unless board members have any. So that would move us to public forum. Dustin, is there anybody here or on Zoom to speak on the public forum?
Everyone who is currently logged into the meeting on Zoom are city staff, so I don't believe we have anybody from the public.
Okay. So it does not appear we have anyone who wants to speak on the public forum. So that would bring us to item 6 would be to consider adjournment of today's meeting.
Okay. One of you like to move to adjourn?
I'll make a move to adjourn.
I second it.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, everyone.